When we see all of this advertising and programs around South Africans living on $1.50 a day or 15 Rand, as it were, and you really experience it, it shakes you. It shakes me to this day. And so really then that evokes my passion for this country to say, no, listen, we come from a history that is deliberately organized to be divided and to be unequal. And today, in the post-apartheid South Africa, we now have the opportunity to create the South Africa of our dreams. But then the difficult question is that it then becomes important to have really real and frank conversations, particularly around inequality. I mean, the world over, the level of inequality in the world is astonishing. But South Africa has the complex situation of inequality having a racial face. So some of the learners who come from these backgrounds, they have a confidence issue, right? But I could also affirm this as well, that there comes a point in time, especially if you're a person of color, and you enter into a certain setup, there's a level of confidence or barrier that you have to struggle with and that you have to overcome in order to realize the potential that you want to realize. The difficulty in South Africa is in having another party who is able to connect, understand, empathize, and work with you in closing that gap. And it becomes very awkward and very difficult when we have these kinds of conversations. No, this one is this one is that, and the other. But my view in a democratic South Africa now and where we're at, and the experiences that I've had and the experiences that I continue to learn from my mother, and understanding that education is the greatest equalizer. And then going back to what Dr. Nelson Mandela cited, that really education is the greatest tool to change the world. For me, what that means is that the opposite, meaning the absence of education, is equally as powerful. And that's the ramifications that we're dealing with today. But in dealing with that, it means that we have to let go of our own selves. We have to let go of our own privileges that we might not be aware of. Even as I stand today as a young black South African man, I have certain privileges as opposed to my peers who are in the townships. And even for me at times, having done a lot of work in community organizing and in activism, there's a certain level of disconnect as well, because I've now grown up in a suburb for 10 plus 15 years. The last time I lived in the township was probably when I was 12 years old. So there's a level of disconnect that exists. Now we are of the same color, right? Now in a different color, there's a different disconnect that happens as well. But inequality is inequality, but inequality. And we're all human beings. And our failure to understand one another or seek to understand one another, I think is our greatest challenge in South Africa today as young people in government and in business and all around. And I really think that if we are really as young people and it's funny, I'm just reminded now, the situation during the Fees Must Fall campaign. I was at work, there's a gentleman, you guys had actually blocked Empire Road, right? Then this gentleman is driving a white bakkie, isn't it? Decides to drive through. Students who are, we're not fighting for vodka or for all of these things that young people could be fighting for. We're fighting for a noble cause. More especially in a world where knowledge is rewarded as much as it is today. The best way in order to be a leader or a leading country is really through education. But when you have, and I consider them unpatriotic or non-South Africans, when you disconnect yourself from the real issues of society, to say, no, listen, I'm okay, guys, I need to get to wherever I'm going, regardless of whatever is happening. That disconnect, in my mind, disqualifies you as a South African. And I speak that with the utmost conviction, because I think if we are really to take South Africa forward, we really need to absorb, love, own this country's challenges and innovate around those challenges, because really for each and every challenge there's a solution, and it's a business as well, which speaks to some of the challenges that we feel.